Ardurra has really grown into this national powerhouse in engineering and consulting. You mentioned the water wastewater industry. What was the original vision for the firm? And talk a little bit about how you focus on your growth strategy. I know it's got a combination of organic plus acquisition. So talk a little bit about, just the growth that's happened.
Sure. The companies will kind of did a little bit of everything. So we sat down with a group of probably over 2 days with a group of 5 and said, we got to come up with a vision, what this company go about. We then sat down and said, look, the really company that we had that had some substantial big business was Ardurra. And I can explain how that came from, which is a water wastewater firm. So we said, we want to be a business that does things that not all firms can do. We don't want to be a generalist. So let's work on building a high-end water business. When we reach 100 million in revenues.
What does it really take for a civil engineering company to grow sustainably today? Well, today we have the answer. Ardurra Group has exploded in terms of the growth of its company. And I have with me today Ernesto Aguilar. Ernesto is a licensed professional engineer, and he is the president and CEO of Ardurra. And Ernesto is going to share with us how Ardurra has focused on growth, both through mergers and acquisitions, but also through organic growth, and how they focus on the right things and put their energy into the right things for growth. He's got a lot of great tips and strategies for us, and also some leadership advice from all of his leadership experience along the way. Now, before we jump in, I do want to tell you about our AECPM Connect event designed for firm leaders who want to elevate project delivery, build strong teams, and scale with confidence. These events provide an avenue to connect with other project delivery leaders in the industry. We currently have events in Kansas City and New Jersey planned, with more coming soon. Visit aecpmconnect.com and get registered today. With that, let's jump into the Civil Engineering CEO Show. I'm your host, Anthony Fasano. All right, so now I'd like to welcome our guest onto the show for today. Ernesto Aguilar is a licensed professional engineer. He's also the president and CEO at Ardurra Group. Ernesto, welcome to the Civil Engineering CEO Show.
Thank you, Anthony. Thanks for the invite. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, excited to get to talk a little bit. And maybe the best place for us to start, Ernesto, is tell us a little bit about Ardurra. Tell us about what you do, a little bit about the background of the company, and then, of course, a little bit about your journey there.
All right. So first about Ardurra. So fairly new company. Company started in 2017. And at that time, private equities actually was not big in our industry. Now it's pretty large. But we were probably one of the first kind of, if you want to call it, accumulators, putting it together. So company started in 2017. And now we're about just short of 2,000 people. We will be 2,000 people probably by the end of the month. So it's been quite a growth. There is both organic and M&A. We've done 28 acquisitions, so it's not all. And we are one of the largest water wastewater firms in the U.S. And so I believe we are the largest PE-backed water firm in the U.S. So we are private equity backed. And we are in 90 offices, pretty much what we call the Big Smile, going from the Pacific Northwest, then California, Texas, Florida, all the way. Actually, we stop in Washington. The idea is to do the whole Northeast, so the whole swamp. So,
wow. That's great.
Quite a
That's
ride.
Awesome. Sounds like it for sure. And tell me a little bit about your ride. I mean, I know as engineers, we don't always envision ourselves as being CEOs in our career, but I'm curious if you could let us know a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, kind of a little bit unusual when you look at my name and you look at me, but I actually grew up in Canada. So I'm Canadian. First language actually French. I actually wanted to be a stockbroker. Stockbroker, pretty bad. I won all these contests in high school. And my father, who was an immigrant, said, absolutely not. He didn't have an opportunity to go to school. You have to go to school. Pick something. And so at that time, like many kids like building stuff, I said, how about civil engineering? Yeah, let's do that. I thought of bridges, right? So I did graduate as a structural engineer and moved to, as soon as I got out of college, moved to Vancouver, British Columbia, and did structural engineering for a couple of years, and then switched more to municipal engineering. Ended up starting my own business with a partner in Vancouver. Probably about 35% firm, moved to the U.S. about 25 years ago, joined a 100-person water firm in San Diego that got acquired by PBS&J 6 months after I got there. So I was at PBS&J, which became Atkins. I was there for 14, 15 years, had a lot of roles. Actually ended up running the national practices of water, pretty much North America, anything besides transportation. I left after 14 years and then joined a company that was starting out from scratch, and it turned out to be NV5. So I was the COO at NV5. So went through that massive growth from 200 employees to 3,500 employees.
Wow.
But and that was a public traded company. I wanted to do something on my own, and so came here pretty much when there was company starting out, had no name, a couple of companies have been acquired, but really had no vision, and came here really started from scratch. Company 2018.
Wow, what a journey.
Yeah,
And I'm gonna ask you a little bit more in a few minutes about
sure,
your leadership approach and philosophy. But before we go there, let's talk a little bit more about Ardurra. Ardurra has really grown into this national powerhouse in engineering and consulting. You mentioned the water wastewater industry. What was the original vision for the firm? And talk a little bit about how you focus on your growth strategy. I know it's got a combination of organic plus acquisition. So talk a little bit about, just the growth that's happened.
sure. So let me start from 2018. So really, it was about 200 employees. Honestly, we only really had one big office, which is in Tampa, 5 offices total, and 3 in Florida, 1 in New Orleans, 1 in Houston. That was it. In Houston was like 10 people. New Orleans was like 5. So it was really a couple of people in Florida. And the companies were kind of did a little bit of everything. So we sat down with a group of probably over 2 days with a group of 5 and said, we got to come up with a vision what this company go about. They didn't even have a name. The company, just to give you an example, the first company acquired was King. The third company was Ardurra, and they were going by the moniker Ardurra King. And I go, why are you guys calling it Ardurra King? Well, when we say King Ardurra, people think it's a person, a Hawaiian king, so we're going with Ardurra King. So um, we then sat down and said, look, the really company that we had that had some substantial big business was Ardurra. And I can explain how that came from, which is a water wastewater firm. So we said, we want to be a business that does things that not all firms can do. We don't want to be a generalist. So let's work on building a high-end water business. When we reach 100 million in revenues, we'll transition to a little bit diversify the portfolio to transportation. And where do we want to do this? And that's the big smile. Big smile meaning from the Pacific Northwest down through California, Texas, Florida to the Northeast. But I said, let's start with a grin from California to North Carolina. And the obvious fact is that's the fastest growing areas in the U.S., high-end real estate, especially Florida, southern states, and Texas. And so, yeah, we started going in 2018. That was kind of our mission. And honestly, it's surprising to me, Anthony, how fast we've grown. Organically, we were growing almost 35% at the beginning. A
Wow.
lot of people joined us. Yeah, a lot of people came over. And, people think it's all M&A. Our secret is actually organic growth. Every firm that comes over, we expand it, double or triple it. And that's been kind of our growth. We are hiring just give an example, we are hiring about 20 to 50 employees a month. So that's part of the organic growth. Yeah. So we're hiring quite a few people every month. So
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, Ernesto, about the organic piece of it, because I think a lot of times in our industry right now, the civil infrastructure, there's lots of mergers and acquisitions going on. Some people think, oh, you could just keep buying up companies, right? But the challenge is you got to integrate them the right way. You got to
pretty
have
much.
organic growth as a piece of that if you want to be a long term player, I think, and sustain it. So it's great to hear that you've got a good combination of, yes, we can go out and acquire a firm, but we've got a good integration. Then we're going to grow that firm, and we're going to keep growing our firm organically. And that seems like that's kind of a winning combination.
Yeah, I usually say, Anthony, and it sounds weird, but I usually say growing by acquisition is a lazy way of growing. It's actually unhealthy, even though we've done it. What acquisitions are supposed to accelerate your organic growth. And interesting, most people think M&A, all these private equity guys like this acquiring firms, they actually prefer organic growth. That's the sign of a healthy company. Now, when it comes, don't get me wrong, I don't think we could have done without M&A what we've done, because M&A gets you into markets much faster, right? You wouldn't have got into. There's no way we can do what a firm's done for 20 years to get into a solid market. So that's been helping us. But the whole idea is to grow. So I always say we have, and I can talk this, we have a 3F rule when we're acquiring firms. And the second F is future. And they say 1+1 has to be equals to 30. If you're not
I
going to
like
grow
that.
the company or we're not going to be better off together, there's no point in doing that deal. So that's one of our rules that we have.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So Let's talk a little bit about leadership. So you've had the opportunity to work obviously in private companies. You started your own company, you mentioned. I'm sure you've worked on projects where you've interacted with municipalities and the
Yep.
public sector. How has leading across these different kind of structures and organization types, how has it informed your leadership approach? I guess in general, like how would you describe your leadership approach?
Informal. I think I'm not the most formal person in many ways. I'm a very curious person, so I've learned a lot. I've been very fortunate to be involved in different kinds of companies, different roles. I've had the opportunities. So I'm always learning. The day I think I know it all, I'm dead. But I think partially is you can never build a company on your own. I learned a long time ago. You need people who are better than you in almost every other facet. And I think of myself more as the guy who puts it kind of together, runs it, but really I'm the generalist and I need experts in every division. And that's how you grow companies in my view. And yes, the different types of company has helped me. I think publicly traded companies do teach you the value of making profit, running an operation, but they're very focused on the money piece. I think private companies teach you the value of keeping clients. You got to keep and the employee. They teach you that part. And so private equity, you could do a little bit of both. I think there's no one when people say what's the best model. I don't think there's one best model. It depends how you handle it. But to me, I mean, I'm glad I've experienced all three. I've learned a lot.
So when you just going back to what you said about the leadership style in terms of, I guess having others help, right? Learning to trust in others. Is that something that you really focus on now, surrounding yourself with the right people? How does that look for you?
Yeah. And it's at the beginning, when we started this company, I had a lot of hats just because the company was starting out. It was tough. The beginning was tough. My actually job is actually easier now than it was when we were 200 people. Everybody goes, "Oh, it must be harder." No, it's a lot easier. I have a lot of people that helping me that are actually better than me at many things that I used to do. So people have asked me, "What's the secret?" You got to surround yourself with very strong people that know what they're doing. I got a great, strong team that helps me out. Without them, there's no way we would have done it.
So, Ernesto, just for those kind of civil engineers that are listening that have like leadership aspirations, you mentioned you were in charge of the business sector North America for Atkins, CEO at NV5, Ardurra. No civil engineer, like I said up front today, goes into their career saying, "My goal is to be a CEO." No, their goal is to be a civil engineer, and then they grow. For you, what was it in your career that kind of signaled for you saying, "Hey, I really like leadership. I want to get more into this. I want to grow myself as a leader." Was it like an experience, or what was it for you that kind of took you down that road?
So I think as I got myself into these roles, I mean, people kind of pushed me into. I actually didn't want to be CEO. I never aspired to be a CEO. Even when this role was offered to me, I initially said, "Nah, I'm not interested." And then they're the ones who kind of pushed me into it. I'm a very curious person. I always tell, a lot of young guys go, "I want your job." And then I ask them, "What aspect? What do I do?" Then they can't answer the question, right? So I always tell people, do what you love, not what you think you're supposed to be doing, you know. And I love business. I love all aspects. I love the growth aspects. I like the operation aspects. I like the financial aspects. I learned quite a bit about it. And I told you I wanted to be a stockbroker. Uh, so that to me is what I loved, and that's why I like what I do here, a little bit of everything. But if you're going to be a good engineer, you want to be an engineer, stick to being an engineer. That's what's good. It's just my road has led me to this. But yes, I am a very curious person about leadership, how to build companies together, learning a bit of finance, learning have an HR person in terms of the people, the client base. But it's a learning experience. I'm still learning, Anthony, every day.
That's great. And so, one of the other aspects of leadership, especially in our industry, obviously is the ability to interact with people and different people, right? You work on
Yeah.
projects, there's stakeholders. Talk a little bit about your experience with, people interaction, communication skills for those civil engineers that do want to go down that leadership road. They're going to need to develop these types of skills. What advice can you offer to them on that?
Yeah, I think we have a leadership class in our company. We have a leadership course that we take some up and coming leaders over a year, of course. And one of the things we're starting to do is we're going to give them lessons to actually public speaking because some of them are because I think engineers normally the reason they're going to civil engineering is because they're stereotypical more introverted type people. They don't like getting in front of people, and that's a normal kind of engineer. Uh, But I think to me, I tell people network, network in everything. I remember, I'll tell you a quick story. I remember this young guy coming and goes, I tell everybody's a salesperson. This young guy, very shy, says to me, I'm not a salesperson. I'm just, I just like being a corner doing engineering. I said, but you are, you've sold twice. He goes, I have? He goes, yeah. First of all, you got a job here. So you convinced us to hire you. Okay. And it was the second one. He goes, I noticed you had a wedding band. You managed to convince someone to marry you. And he goes, I'm a salesman. But the idea is everybody, the idea of people have to sell. You have to be careful. But building networks, even if they're technical networks, it's very important for you. You learn from people as you expect. This company would not have grown as it is without networks, Anthony. The company has been grown by external networks, people that I've known many years, people who have joined us. They're all external networks.
Yeah,
So
that's
get
great.
involved. Get involved.
Yeah, for sure. And I like that story that you told, and it reminds me of we do a lot of PM training for large companies, custom programs, and we interact with a lot of project managers. And what I always tell them is, I know a lot of PMs say I don't like to do sales or business development, but the thing is you're doing it every day because
Every
by
day.
delivering great projects and building relationships with your clients,
That's right.
most AEC companies get repeat work is like 80+% of their work. So you are actually selling every day. It's just a matter, like you said, even on a technical level, if you're
Absolutely.
delivering great quality projects, that's it.
Yeah, I think
Right.
people
So,
think sales is like cold call and that kind of stuff. It's not.
right.
What you do every day. And so I'm continually selling myself to my wife every day.
Yeah. Yeah. We all are.
Hmm.
um, So Ardurra was recently recognized with the 2025 M&A Best Practices Award. Talk a little bit about how at Ardurra you approach integrating new teams into your current culture and then kind of maintaining your culture. I know that's like one of the most important things you have
Mhm.
to do if you're going to do M&A. So talk to us a little bit about your approach there.
Yeah, so I don't think people realize this. Anthony, we talk to 50 to 100 companies a year.
Wow.
Yeah. And last year we acquired one. So
Wow.
this year so far we acquired three this year. So everybody, oh, you do a lot of acquisitions. We talk to thousands and maybe over the last periods. So we are very selective. And so I mentioned this 3F rule that we have. The first is the fit. And is this person going to get along with, like say, Anthony in our company? Why does he want to sell the company? Is it for the money or does he want to find more opportunity for his employees? There has to be a reason, a good reason why this person's selling. And so that's probably 60, 2/3 of the formula for us. Um, because we have just so you know, Anthony, of the 28 companies that we've acquired, 40 plus owners, they're all still here except for two and one retired.
Wow.
None
Wow.
of them have left. So very unique company because these guys have pretty much put their ego, left them at the door and moved on. There is very little ego here. And so this guy has to be able to fit into that. So that's kind of a very important thing. Number one. Number two, I talked about the future, that we're both going to be better off together. And then there's a financial kind of portion. So it is like a dating thing. It is going to be like forever. And so you better find the right partners. You acquire the wrong firm, it's pretty much going to take your time. It's a cancer, right? It just not
Yeah.
become, it doesn't become good for both party. So we are very selective. We take our time. We make sure, and for them too, we want to make sure it's the right thing. So we take our time when it comes to that. And we do have an integration team. When we bring somebody on board, we actually have a full-time employee engagement partner. We have a full-time person. Her job is to make sure that firm is integrated. All the people have someone to
Wow.
go to. So we have different ways we integrate all the firms.
That's great. I love that.
Yeah.
And I really like the process that you explained with the 3 F's. And, we talked to 50 to 100 companies and we acquired one last year, for example, because
Yeah.
to me, that's kind of like that saying, right? Measure 10 times, cut once. It's like,
Yes.
talk to 100 people, acquire one or acquire three or whatever the case may be. But the point being is have a really strong culture in place, of course,
Yeah.
and then make sure that anyone you bring into that culture aligns with it.
Yeah. And when we say to culture, so culture is a big word, right? It means
Sure.
so many people, but we say, look, every office going to have, or company's going to have their own culture, and you have your traditions. Keep those traditions. Our culture is to accept everybody else's culture. And we have an overall culture of acceptance and working together and respecting each other. And that's the culture we have.
That's great. I
Yeah.
like that. I think that's important. What you just said is being able to take the word culture and communicate what it means to everybody,
Yes.
right? What your expectations are for that word.
Yes.
That's great.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about talent in our industry, which right now is, it's a very competitive,
Yes.
uh, talent war, they're calling it, so to speak. And, attracting and retaining top talent is certainly something that's difficult, but important for companies that want to grow. You already mentioned there just recently about the number of owners you've brought on, and you've had very good, obviously, retention there. So just talk a little bit about, what does Ardurra do that has made you be able to grow and retain? Obviously, you can't grow as fast as you have if you haven't been doing pretty good recruiting and retention over the years here. So, is it just go back to your culture, or what is it that's really helping you retain people?
Yeah. So I mentioned we're hiring 20 to 50 employees a month. And
Right.
in about, I think 46, 47% of them are coming from our own employees. Okay.
Wow.
And we have a fairly young workforce. Our average age is about 40 years old. So we have a lot of 10 to 15 type engineers. We also about 35, 40% of our engineers are women. So
Wow.
how's that happening? They're attracting the same kind of people. Now, we did do something when we started the company that's actually worked out really well for us. We decided, this is part of my experience, we want to all build a company together. So we said, we'll take care of the financials, M&A. You guys put everything else together, you, the employees. So we have what's called an employee council. I think it's 30 people. I'm not that involved in it. I don't even know who they are. And they actually tell us what we should be investing in. So, for example, every program in this company has come from that council, every single one. They actually give us guidance on benefits. So, for example, last year they said, I think we need to add holiday. So we did, change to PVO. So they have a lot of say in which way the company's kind of headed. And I don't know how they do it, but they move them around quite a bit, the employees. So that I think helps us. We want everybody to feel that they're a partner in this company, moving the company kind of forward, and not just these guys don't know what they're doing. We also are very transparent about our strategy and where we are. 3, 4 times a year, we have a call, tell everybody where we are. So everybody could tell you pretty much what we're trying to do in this company, which makes it,
That's great.
it's not a job, it's a career for these people. And so we try to make it that. So,
That's great. Yeah, I like that a lot. And that committee that you referred to, that's made up of just employees across the organization.
yes. And I believe, like I said, purposely stayed out of it. I don't even tell. I believe they stagger they have a kind of like a 1 or 2 year term, and they stagger them, bringing different kind of people in with different ideas. But it is different across the company, different sectors, different people from different levels. The way it works.
With a focus on like employee engagement.
The focus on almost anything they want, anything
Okay.
that they feel will improve the company.
That's great.
Yeah, we don't actually tell them the guidelines. You're saying you help this company with us on things that we can't even see, and you tell us what's going on.
That's great. I
Yeah.
love that. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So, as a CEO in this industry, what are you feel are some of the trends or shifts that you see coming up here in the future of civil engineering in terms of, firms have to be on their toes, they need to be
Yeah.
able to ready to adapt. What do you think is coming down the line here?
Well, the big one is technology, AI.
Sure.
I think we actually have our own full time. We have our AI team ourselves. We're actually doing some work related to it. We actually today is the first day of our chief technology officer we hired. We have a full time chief technology team. I think AI, you got to be careful. It's obviously not to do all the design that we're doing, but in terms of making efficiency in operations and finance going to help. I think you got to keep up with that technology, everything that's going on. So that's one. I think if you're not doing that, you're going to fall behind. And there's no doubt there's a consolidation in Israel, Anthony. There is a consolidation, probably the largest in our history, that's going on.
Yeah.
I think it's going to continue for a while. I think PE and these publicly traded companies are consolidating all these firms. These aging owners of companies, they have no way out. Sometimes they can't sell their company to the next generation. So I
Right.
believe that's still going to happen over the next 5 to 10 years. It's going to continue consolidating even more.
And going back to AI for a minute,
Yeah.
that's a little bit of a black hole because there are so many different technologies and software and tools. So, what is kind of your philosophy there? Is it just evaluating what comes up, or what does your team do related to that?
Yeah, you got to be careful. I think in many states, obviously, when it comes to design, that's not, someone's got to be able to see a drawing and know what's going on. But there are tools that can help you in terms of AI get you. So I'll tell you the non-technical aspects. For example, proposals. We now have a database of all the proposals we have out there. And so we can say when an RFP comes in, we can say, we need a proposal for this kind of job with these kind of resumes. And within 1 minute, it gives you like a
Wow.
60% proposal pretty much done. You have to go fix it, but it does a lot of work for you. And a lot of the same thing on the finance side, when you're looking at the analysis, FP&A on the finances, you have a bot that does all the stuff. You have it to you in 30 seconds. On the engineering side, we are doing some work. So for one of our clients, big clients, we're doing a big wastewater treatment plant template so that they actually can estimate their dollars operational costs. So you do inputs, here's what about if the population grows this much, or this happens, and it tells them how much input. Then we've done that using AI. We've actually created models for them. Again, it's not for design, but it's for operational purposes. They know how much money to put together in their CIP programs. So it
Wow,
is
that's great.
useful. It is a very useful tool, if you use it right. We also do what's called a lot of ITS, intelligent transportation systems, on the transportation side. And so AI is very useful to actually get us to certain steps ahead as opposed to doing all the legwork. So that's what AI is good for. It gets you, put some data together and gets you some steps ahead, but not the final solution.
That's great. I mean, I think really one of the key takeaways that I have in talking with you about Ardurra is that you're really intentional about different things. Like, for example, like you said, you have someone focused on integrating the teams. You have a team focused on AI. You got this committee that's focused on employee engagement and whatever we need to make this company better, right? So I really like that you're not like, hey, let's have someone who can work on that sometimes or someone who can work on that sometimes. You really identify some of these key issues and then you have someone's dedicated to that, right? That's their job. That's their career to focus on making people comfortable. And I think that probably bodes very well over the long term.
Well, we have to do it because of the growth of the company. The company's been growing very fast. So if you're not prepared, it becomes a mess, right?
Yeah.
We're integrating companies, put them together. So we've had to put a lot of systems in place, process systems. We're very non-bureaucratic, which is people find we're a very non-bureaucratic company.
That's good.
I say I detest bureaucracy. We're very entrepreneurial. I mean, I got all these entrepreneur guys take advantage of them, right? But we do have processes to make sure that when a company comes in, we know how to integrate them. We know how to put it together with the other companies. And the same with systems. We know what has to be done. And we have to do that or else it's going to be shambles. So you have to be organized to a degree.
That's great.
Yeah.
Ernesto, last question I have for you. Based on your experience as a leader, what, advice can you give to civil engineers out there that really want to grow themselves as leaders and go from a technical professional into that kind of leadership stage of their career, just based on all your experience put together? What would you kind of recommend to them?
Well, I think the one skill that I notice it's hard for many people is letting go, delegating. Not many people, if you can't do that, you're going to struggle because as a leader you have to be able to trust other people to help you, right? And you know what, their way might be different. Doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just different as long as you get the same results. And to be able to delegate and just get hands off, it's what you have to get over. You have to learn to do that. And I talked about it before, the networking, learning from people, Anthony, it's very important. You got to figure out your way, but there's lots of things you can learn from someone. You can learn something from everybody. It could be bad, but you still can learn from somebody. It could be good. Everybody you can learn from. And I think, and I'm still learning, like I said, every day, but learn to delegate and trust your team. Again, this company would not have it built out if I'm the one that said I'm going to build it. There's no way. There's no way we got there. So
that's great. Well, Ernesto Aguilar, licensed professional engineer, president and CEO at Ardurra, I want to thank you so much for spending some time with me here on the Civil Engineering CEO Show.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the invite, Anthony. I appreciate it. Take care.
I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Ernesto. He is a leader in the industry. He's gone from many different companies, but he's remained a leader throughout his journey, and his advice today was awesome, and I hope that you can implement it into your career. If you liked the interview, please subscribe to our channel here. We do put out videos like this on a weekly basis to help engineers become better managers and leaders. I'll see you next week.